up right now here on the Raiders Report. We're allowing Raider Nation, the fans, to react to that ass kicking of a 31-0 game up against the Philadelphia Eagles. You guys hear me bitch and moan about this football team all the time. I'm at a loss for words. Max Crosby was just asked what he thought about that game losing to the Eagles, and he goes, I got no words, in all honesty. Guess what? I got no words either, because the Pete Carroll Raiders are such a flippin' joke, and I believe that I am the voice of Raider Nation. But I also will say this. I want y'all to be able to get your 2 cents in too. I want you to be able to show Mark Davis how frustrated you are, because after watching a 31-0 ass kicking where they benched their starters in the freaking fourth quarter and you put up only 75 total yards of offense, if you want Pete Carroll to return next season, I just really question what the hell goes through your mind. So what you guys are going to see today is questions, comments from loyal viewers about how they feel after watching this disgrace of a football team put another game out there where they lost 31-0. And luckily, Dallas Goedert dropped the touchdown, and luckily they played their second stringers, or else this would have been a 40-0 burger. God, Pete, you're terrible. If you haven't already, make sure you guys click that subscribe button, turn on your notifications, because if you want the Raiders to get the #1 pick, I'm going to be making videos every single day. We got 3 more games to be able to get to, but if you want more draft content, more analysis around what the Raiders should do in the draft in the offseason, there's one place and one place only that will keep you up to date, and that's the Raiders Report. There's a reason why we've been the most watched Raiders show the last 8 years. It's the commitment to excellence we show, but it's also the community that we've built. And you guys are going to see how in touch our community is right now. Let's go to Blake Goodwin. Fire Pete. Now 2 games this season where we have been blown out without scoring any points. Why wait until the end of the season to fire him? I hear your frustration. I'm frustrated too. And if you were to tell me, does Pete Carroll deserve to be fired? Obviously, I would say yes. But the reason why you don't fire Pete Carroll right now is because I want that #1 overall pick. And I do honestly think that if you add another head coach to this equation, the Raiders are going to make improvements. I don't want the Raiders to make improvements. I want the Raiders to finish the season at 2-15, and I want us to move on from Pete Carroll. That's why you don't do it right now. But yeah, I'm ready to move on from Pete. J. Rowe, pretty wild to think that Phillip Rivers, at 44, who hasn't played in 5 years, is going to have more offensive yards today than the Raiders. If they don't, that's a mind-blowing stat. 0 points, 75 yards, 1.8 yards per play. There have been 7 shutouts in the NFL this season. The Raiders have 2 of them. The Raiders are ranked dead last in yards per game. They are ranked dead last in points per game. This is the worst Raiders offense that has ever played for the Raiders in their long, long history. This is the worst Raiders team that I have ever seen. And I don't know if anybody can tell me otherwise. I think it's the worst Raiders team that I've ever seen. Let's go to Josh McDaniels. Hell, Josh, I miss you. That's too far. I wish Josh coached this team instead of Pete, I'll tell you that. If the next head coach don't fix the offensive line, defensive line, I don't want him. If you go into an interview and whoever is the person that ends up hiring the next Raiders head coach, I mean this, you need to sit them down and go, what's your plan? What is your plan? If the plan does not involve investing a crap ton of money and time into your offensive line and defensive line before the NFL draft, that person should not be hired. You got to be able to find somebody that can put the right plan together, because the plan you put together last season was a shit plan. Buckeye Raider. Mark Davis, John Spytek, Raider Nation loves this team. Please come together and fix this. The Raider way is not this. Fixing it. Nothing sells like winning. And I really think if you put the right plan together, you can get this team to be a 8-9 win football team next season. I actually don't even think it's that hard of a recipe. Invest in your offensive line. Invest in your defensive line. Take a quarterback like Mendoza, #1 overall. That young head coach is going to be able to get a lot to be able to work with. I really don't even think it's all that difficult to be able to fix what the Raiders are doing. But Mark, Spytek, anybody in that building, you can't do the Pete Carroll Raiders again. You're going to lose so much money, Mark. And I'm not just saying this from a money standpoint, but I'm actually being serious. Mark, you're going to lose so much money if you keep Pete Carroll. Fire Pete, move on, eat your $30 million, because if you don't fire Pete Carroll and you don't eat that money and you don't eat the Geno Smith money, the amount of money you will lose, I guarantee you, is 10 times. That's a lot of money. I'm going to say is, without a doubt, 2 to 3 times more than what you would pay Pete Carroll and Geno Smith. Pete Carroll, Geno Smith, you move on from them, it's $48.5 million. Mark, that's chump change for you. You know it. I know it. Move on from them. Move on from them. How about this? What's your one-word reaction? This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. If you want to give me a one-word reaction, give me a one-word reaction. I want either one word to describe how you feel about the Raiders right now, or give me an open-ended. The floor is yours. Hell, the floor probably feels like lava right now. So you're about to get in with a YouTube ad break. While that ad is playing, scroll on down and give me your one-word reaction, or I want you to give me your reaction to the Raiders losing 31-0 to the Philadelphia Eagles. Disgrace. My one-word reaction is a disgrace. The Pete Carroll Raiders are a disgrace of a football team, and they are. Like, it's also really difficult right now, me, for being a Raiders fan, and the idea of me wanting to watch my team lose. Like, I feel disgrace in wanting my own team to lose, but, like, here we are yet again, Mark. And the reason why I get so frustrated is because the plans that are put in place are a disgrace. Like, when you look at the entire picture of what the Raiders did, I mean, why would you hire a head coach at 73 years old when you're trying to rebuild? I mean, like, that plan alone, right there, that sentence right there alone. If the plan starts shitty, why keep doing that shitty plan? And the Raiders are in a rebuild, and I believe somebody earlier in the show was like, you know, trying to rebuild the Raiders with Pete Carroll is like trying to build a home on a shitty foundation. And you're exactly right. It's time to move on from Pete, but it's just so clear that the Raiders are the worst coach team in the NFL. You're 2-12, and you just have not shown any improvement. Pete Carroll can sit up there and say that his team fought hard, and if that's what your team looks like, fighting hard, I think then you're even doing an even worse job somehow, Pete. And I feel like I'm in a nightmare. It's not a good one. It's not a good one. You know what is a good one? This seems like a dream. Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app out there. It's easy. It's exciting. Daily fantasy sports made easy. And if you're like me, well, I at least got to watch the Raiders lose. That's a good one. I also, though, was able to win my Prize Picks lineup. I didn't win the full flex play amount, but what I did do was I was able to cash out, and I was able to get my early payout. So whether you're talking bowl games, basketball matchups, playoff pushes, it's all happening at once. And you and I are out here making decisions every day. And on Prize Picks, it's going to feel good to be right. Now, they do have a brand new feature on Prize Picks, and they have early payouts. So if your lineup gets off to a hot start, you have the option now to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes, which is exactly what I ended up doing. So what killed me was Saquon Barkley. I took the more. He had 78 rushing yards today. They benched him before the fourth quarter. If Barkley doesn't get benched, I really believe that I turned that 10 into $50. However, though, I was paying attention. I went on Prize Picks, and I saw the early payout. So I turned that 10 into $27.40 because that's what they were offering me on that payout. So even though my lineup that you see on screen here did not happen, I took advantage of that early payout because everything besides the Saquon Barkley more on the 83.5 ended up hitting. And, you know, to me, I had to give myself something to root for. I'll say it like this. If you're a Raiders fan, you go more against whoever the Raiders play. You go less on the Raiders, you are going to win money on Prize Picks. I've been doing it for weeks now. I think anybody watching the show, you've been rolling with me. And if you want to follow me, you want to follow celebrities, you can do it on Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS to be able to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. You know what else is good? The Kansas City Chiefs have been eliminated from the playoffs. I don't know what the injury is around Patrick Mahomes, but FKC's down below because they are not in the playoffs. John, besides Max, the defense looks like it doesn't give a crap. I just think that the defense doesn't know what to do, and it's because players aren't played in the right spots. Like, how many times did Charles Snowden line up at linebacker? How many times have we seen Max Crosby line up at linebacker? How many times have we said we don't have a true free safety on this team? Darian Porter had himself a rough day, But when you are a poorly coached team on top of a poor, just a bad talent team on a defense that doesn't fit the strengths of the players that you're on, and then you got a 74-year-old head coach calling more of the shots than the guy that you hired to be defensive coordinator and Patrick Graham. I mean, like, that's when you look the way that the Raiders look. It's just total dysfunction. Jake, Raider Nation from Pittsburgh, who the hell do we blame now? Where do we go from here? I think we get rid of Carroll and make some decisions today. You don't make any decisions today. You just keep on rolling with the Pete Carroll Raiders. In terms of who do you blame Pete. Like, it's not, I don't even think, even if Geno Smith would have played in this game, and I know the whole blame Geno thing is gotten off and it's taken off because Geno's the quarterback. Geno's been a shit quarterback, been a shit leader, a shitty person, if I'm going to be 100% honest with y'all. And I know there's a lot of hostility towards Geno, and we've been saying blame Geno because of that hostility and because, again, he doesn't like us, we don't like him. But the number one person to blame is Pete. Like, when you're this bad, again, top to bottom, it's coaching. The Raiders got worse this offseason. You can't tell me that they haven't. Yoda Jenkins, hypothetically, shout out to Yoda, today's MVP. If Mark sells the team, who would buy? I don't know the rules about ownership. Based on what I've heard, whoever would end up buying the Raiders, it would be a multitude of different people. Again, I've heard that it's going to be very similar to like the way that the Dodgers are owned, where it's going to be a bunch of people, different people are going to put their hand in the cookie jar. There's a lot of money to be had in Las Vegas. And, it wouldn't shock me if, people like LeBron James is a part owner. It wouldn't shock me if Magic Johnson got part ownership. Like, there's going to be a lot of people, but that's because there's a lot of money to be had in Las Vegas. Allegiant Stadium was the number one, I believe, selling stadium in the country this past year. And that's because of all the events, the venues. It's Las Vegas. Mark ain't hurting for money. The only good news I can tell you is Mark doesn't have a kid, so at least somebody else will have to get it. Jose, I'm so sick and tired of the performance, all the years of Mark's decisions with the coaching staff. Let's start fresh, fire everyone if we get the first overall draft pick. I think no matter what, you got to fire Pete Carroll, even if you don't have the first overall draft pick. And I say that because last year people got mad at me when I said I think Mike Vrabel would be a good hire by the Raiders. And I said that, Mike Vrabel to me is a top 32 head coach on the planet. Does anybody here think that Pete Carroll is a top 32 head coach on the planet? I don't know how you say yes. Quite frankly, I don't know if Pete Carroll is a top 100 person on planet Earth that could coach a football team. And because that statement is like that, and because you got to just get something else, you can't afford to throw away an offseason that should be a damn good offseason for you. Because what happens when you throw away an offseason and you believe in your coaches, this is what happens. Where the Raiders are at right now. What up, Travis? Mitch, love the show, all the hard work we do. Hit that subscribe button. If you won't hit the sub button because of me, do it for Travis here. Top 1% of the listeners on Chat Sports. Always hitting that like button. Greatly appreciate it, man. Womb to the tomb. I wish I really could say that I was born a Raiders fan. But it's also something I'm very proud to say, like, I'm a Raider fan now. And I say it all the time. You don't got to be blood to be family. And I think people that watch this show know that we're going to get through it together. Like, I'm not going to get through it by myself. I don't think you guys would get through it by yourself. But if we keep showing up, we keep rallying, we keep putting good energy out into the world, I think good things will happen. I need you just like y'all need me. I hope that you never give up on me. Sir Chai, I'll admit I'm wrong. Greg Olsen as OC is even worse. I don't know if he's worse. I think we're just bad. And we're just in the situation that we're in. And the situation that we're in is we are just a really poorly coached football team from top to bottom. So we said that we would do this on the show today. If you want to call in, get your face on this program like we did on Thursday Night Football, FaceTime the Raiders Report right now. 945-225-1736. If you want to, get on the show. 945-225-1736. Pete just said, nobody can pressure me more than myself. Challenge accepted, Pete. Challenge accepted, Pete. If you don't think that other people can challenge you more than yourself, challenge accepted, because we're going to turn the heat up even more here on the show. because I think at this point it's just what we have to do. We got to turn the heat up. Apparently, we're not loud enough. Apparently, we're not bringing enough heat. If you want to get on the Raiders Report, final call, 945-225-1736. Now, again, the Raiders lost 31-0 to the Philadelphia Eagles. And it was a kick in the nuts. It was an extremely frustrating game. This football team has no identity. And to me, you see a lot of teams that at least know their identity, know who they are, especially this time of the season. Even bad teams, I think, know somewhere to hang their hat. But this team's still trying to figure it out going into Week 16. And a team that's still trying to figure it out after losing another game the way that they did, again, man, there's so many ways that prove the coaching, and that coaching's the biggest issue. When the front office wants to move on from the coaching staff, when select Raiders owners want to move on from this coaching staff, when a lot of your fans want to move on, former players, it's clear as day that Pete Carroll is just clearly past his prime, and you just can't rely on him to be an effective football coach in the year of 2025, which is why as soon as that final game happens, Week 18 against Kansas City, we'll see who's quarterback. I'm going to guess that Gardner Minshew is going to end up being the quarterback here because Patrick Mahomes is injured. But, man, oh, man, Raider Nation is frustrated. I'm frustrated, and I think it's all time for us to move on from Pete Carroll.